record again, and so you got to accept it. So welcome back, everyone. I just love the content that we had in our panel discussion. Holy cow, the gems that were there were absolutely amazing. Right now, we're going to go into a thank you, a gratitude, and that is for Kathi Mccarty of Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance. Kathi has been just a godsend for the few years that we've gotten to know each other really well. It seems like it's been our entire life. I feel like I've known you forever, Kathi, but it hasn't been that long. And she stepped up to be the sponsor of the HR track today. And we're delighted to give a nod to the Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance and the work that she's doing out there. Kathi, welcome. I love having you here. I appreciate your support more than anything. And we're looking forward to hearing from you for a few minutes as to the Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance. Where would you like to start?
Well, good morning, Denise and everybody. First, I just want to start by saying thank you for having me. The honor has been mine to have known you these last, I think it's going on about 5 years now. You've been a tremendous support system for me personally, as well as professionally, a mentor and a dear friend.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you. So
I found this, real briefly, I just found this last session so engaging, the quote from Martin Luther King, the pearls that we heard about grieving, change of circumstances, transparency, being heart-centered, all that is certainly speaking to my heart. And we can realize these circumstances on many different situations.
Yeah, your story is phenomenal. When you and I first met, you had left as a bank executive for because of health challenges that you were dealing with, and you were involved. We originally met because of the medical device that you were selling, the biomat, which was absolutely fabulous. And then you went off and you were building a retreat in Jamaica. And while you were in Jamaica, you rented out your house through a property manager, and they rented it to someone who was not quite on the up and up about things. And you were called back home and you found out that your home up in beautiful Evergreen, Colorado had been a meth factory, essentially. And the house was uninhabitable any longer in your beautiful home, and lost it. But through the journey that you had, you created this foundation, this organization, so that to help build awareness and information about the exposure to meth toxins and how scary it is that we may not know that we're being exposed to it when we're in a hotel room or in an office or in a new home or things like that. So you've developed this crusade. You've become the Erin Brockovich of meth toxin awareness. And now that I have set the stage for you, add to it, please.
Sure. It's an interesting journey. There's no doubt about it. And next month, it'll be 3 years since my journey started. And yes, I was navigating a very serious health event in 2016. This is a wellness space. I reached out to you and some of the resources of You Define Wellness. Through a dear old friend, I learned about what the work she was doing in the South Island of Jamaica, and we went on a journey because I did have to leave my corporate career in banking and lending of over 30 years. So I out of those 30 plus years, 16 of them were in the executive and/or management space. So being on this HR platform is a huge opportunity to support the people that in an environment that I'm very familiar with, and I didn't have the tools. And one of the things I learned about through You Define Wellness is the 8 dimensions of wellness. One of those being environment. And I found myself when I came back from doing some improvements on a property in Jamaica, I had rented out our home in the foothills of Denver, Colorado, in Evergreen, to our modest restored cabin. Because all my kids were grown and off living their lives. I hired a property management company to oversee that process, and certainly vetted them as well as their process. I was very familiar with it. And I learned through accidental circumstances, which was a minor water line break in my home. I found it to be divine intervention, that within 90 days of this tenancy, I came back to the house because of the water line break. I found very suspect hardware behind the home I couldn't identify. Pictures that were taken by the property manager the day before I took to the local police station had a search warrant. They ensued after reviewing it, had a search warrant established and served it within a few days, where the hardware behind the home was actually an extraction system for THC. It had nothing to do with meth contamination, but then there turned out to be a meth lab in the home, as well as a significant amount of meth drugs that were manufactured, an arsenal of guns, and so much more. It was what I thought was a practical decision to rent out my home turned out to be my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
And through this process, I had 100 huge hurdles in the first 100 days, but and beyond. I'm at 3 years and I'm still navigating it. But what I learned is the severe and significant impacts of the toxins that meth leaves, the residue it leaves when it's consumed in a home through smoking. There are a few different ways, as well as the physical safety factors and the financial devastation that it can cause. And I also learned, similar to like the opioid situations that we hear now, that it's actually a silent pandemic that most people don't know about it. I didn't know about it, and yet I was in lending for over 30 years, and the real estate community, I wasn't hearing about it through real estate transactions.
Yeah. So you lost your home. You've been involved in legal battles with this whole thing. The guy has finally been caught. We don't want to go into details on anything more than that. Just let people know the guy has been caught, and there's legal things going on right now. But you made it a personal crusade to do education with real estate groups, mortgage lenders, to teach them how important it is for to test for meth toxicity. And we unfortunately don't have a lot of time to go into all of that, but I would want to let's cover one thing, and that is, what can someone do for themselves to see if their home or their office it has meth exposure?
Great question, Denise. Basically, two things are really important that I want to bring up. The science doesn't lie. I heard that on the previous group, and nobody's talking about it, so people can use Google. But if you're in the process of pursuing a real estate transaction in the near future, one is just to not profile a particular community, a particular neighborhood, or a particular home. You can't see it or smell it. And what I've learned is that it's rampant. The experts that I've collaborated with really speak to the high percentages of some level of meth contamination in a large majority of homes. And out of those homes, anywhere from 20 to 30% do need additional testing and or some level of remediation. It could be minor, but it could be major. And the other big piece that I want to just really impress upon people of why this has been so devastating, as much as, and you coming from the insurance industry, I'm sure you can appreciate this, as much as I put all the protections in place with an insurance endorsement to have a tenant there, the tenant having insurance for the liability of my home, is criminal activity does not cover our properties. So we're buying a tremendous amount of rental properties, Airbnb at our homes, or VRBOing and things like that. And there are clauses that don't protect us. And it's really about collecting. It's as much as the civil process tried to protect me, collection is next to impossible. So those are the two key components. And I invite people go to methtoxinsalliance.com, my website. I'll put things in the chat and they can learn more and reach out. And I wanted to get to the collaboration with the HR community, because a lot of people in the last year and a half were home. So the people that were either utilizing meth recreationally or worse were in their homes a lot last year. Some of them have migrated back to the office space, but these things are going on in our commercial spaces as well. And individuals, innocent individuals, are being exposed and they don't even know it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wish I could sugarcoat it, but
you can't.
can't.
But we can do things to protect ourselves. We can, and protect our employees and protect our family members. And that is just to get the testing done, because it really is important. And hopefully it will become a requirement to have meth testing before you occupy a dwelling, buy a dwelling. But I thank you for doing the work that you're doing. And I know this is a crusade, and you don't want anyone to go through what you've gone through.
No, it's been a devastating process. I was within less than a decade of retiring and paying off my mortgage. And ultimately, I would not wish this upon anybody, but the gratitude does come from the fact that in at least my situation, it was isolated to my home. The home was very volatile and being explosive and living in the forest in very dry conditions. Nobody else was hurt. Nobody else was impacted. And that's where the gratitude and gift comes from, that I know that this is my calling. This is my call to action, is to the key ingredient to protecting yourself, protecting your loved ones, is through awareness and education. This is more prevalent than one would think. It's not isolated to high crime, low income, inner city communities. It's everywhere, locally, nationally, as well as globally. I've been doing the research for almost 3 years now, and I'm here to step up and serve.
And your ask is for people who have an opportunity for you to get in front of a group and tell your story, to invite you to be a speaker at their events.
That's true. And it's communities that are insurance related, HR, organizationals, whether they're nonprofit or otherwise. I've been in front of Kiwanis groups and local community groups, real estate groups. I've aligned with trusted advisors in the industry in testing, remediation, and other areas. And at least in Colorado and a few states right now, we're offering CE credits for that, depending upon what state you're in. And I'm continuing to reach out and find other CE accredited professionals that could help me do it. I'm also working on my own digital course to hopefully have that accredited. But whether they get the CE credit or not, it's information that's hugely valuable that will that will save lives. Ultimately, it's a very dangerous situation what is used to one's health and physical safety in one's family.
Well, thank you very much. We could be talking all day, and unfortunately we can't.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for sponsoring this event. Thank you for being my friend.